Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, sir. Mr. Speaker, allow me, sir, to express my appreciation to you for affording parliamentarians and the parliamentary staff the opportunity to pay homage to our fallen colleague, the Honorable Deborah Backer, Madam Deputy Speaker, by having her body fittingly lie in state in the Parliament building. Diminutive Debbie was like the small hummingbird that flits from flower to flower, after which each flower fulfills its destiny. So too, each person that she touched found fulfillment in the knowledge that they were in the company of one who cared for her fellow mortals. We always sat together at each parliamentary break, and it was fascinating to hear her soft analysis of Gail, Amna, Raphael, Kemraj, always first names, or how a motion or a bill should be approached and handled. Or after that, we would have quiet talks about the progress of our families, all quietly. Yet, in a nanosecond, with a loud hail up would be given to Neil or to Bibi. Debbie is now in the company of the political and parliamentary giants and women's greats of the past. Those who have passed, like Janet Jagan, Jane Phillips Gay, and Margaret Ackman John. And now the board is on the wing. Goodbye, little board. Goodbye, Deborah Osmond Backer. Adios, Marquita Lindo. Allow me to congratulate Mr. Ashley Singh, the Finance Minister, for once more presenting a budget to this House, and also for his longevity to be able to survive so long in presenting budgets that are well known for their size rather than for their substance. Mr. Speaker, we keep hearing about the attacks on this side of the House that we ought to be able to present alternative solutions to the projects and the ideas that the finance minister presents. Let me say that this is not the role of the opposition. It is the role and the duty of the government and the finance minister to come to us with projects. Our job is to help them to point out the areas where it can be improved, and that is exactly what we do when we stand up most and talk. It's not that we're attacking for the sake of attacking. It is because we have the nation at heart, that when we see something that is not exactly correct, or where it can be improved, or where money is being channeled and wasted, as we in the committees can attest to the areas of corruption that every week we point out at our committee level, that we stand up and we oppose or we point out what should not happen. It is not that we are against it. We want to see Guyana go forward. So, Mr. Minister, please understand how we think. I've already said on the radio that it takes 7 minutes for a man to fall asleep. If that is correct, then during the presentation of this budget, we would have fallen us into that comatose state 25 times. The sustained and unusual silence on both sides of this House indicates the mighty struggle that was waged against that desire. The Attorney General and the AFC must have had advance notice. They took countermeasures. Mr. Speaker, the Finance Minister himself, a victim of the somnolent mood that he had induced, titled his budget, "A Better Guyana for All Guyanese," when in fact, he really meant to use the APNU's manifesto title, A Good Life for All Guyanese. But we'll say it, common events do cast. Right. Mr. Speaker, as in the past, once again, the presentation of this 2014 budget is without the active involvement of the mass-based party, APNU, and of that of the AFC. It exposes the trend of arrogance of this government, the contempt that they have for us, and lays bare the belief in their mantra that one party, their party, and their party alone can develop Guyana. Now, they come to us today hoping for an endorsement of something for which we did not participate, something for which the TUC, Labour, did not participate. How can you expect us to really endorse something for which we had no hand in crafting? How can you expect us not to want to attack you when we stand up here and you hear for the first time projects like that has never existed before? Money being voted for bridges, and when you can tell you, they can tell you areas like Linden Highway, you can't drive it. You can't see where you're going at nights. Every year, we know that it's too dark to travel. And yet nobody stops to say, rather than giving money for a hospital that is not ours, let us put some of that same money towards having a lighted highway. Sir, they seek to yoke us to this budget that offers no meaningful relief to the poor, no increase in wages for workers, and no vision for good and accountable government. When you talk about 5% as being an increase, it's the same old that we had last year. When you talk about 5%, when we need to have 20% as a living wage, when we need to have discussions to know exactly what is the real living standards and the requirement, only then can you know whether a 5% is meaningful or not. And we can say right now, 5% can't work. We just ask. We're not here to quarrel. What we're asking you for is a return to the collective bargaining table so that you can involve unions and workers in what is best for them, and you would then really know what is required to pay them money that you can afford to pay. The money that you would have spent on a miler, the money that you plan to spend on the airport, those billions can be redirected and channeled in such a way that the very workers who are today crying will be in a better position to live comfortably and yet look for better projects. Mr. Speaker, when we come to sugar, there are bailouts. That is the popular word and the mantra of this government. Bailout seems to be the quick resort for this government when it comes to their pet projects like sugar and even rice. When sugar loses, the solution is a bailout. And when rice makes a profit, the force of habit donates more money to more bailouts. Hence, when you hear they boast on one hand, they boast about the amount of rice that is going to be exported to Venezuela. and yet at the same time, you're talking about giving bailouts. How can I give bailout to a profitable institution? This is where we are saying on this side of the house that unless you talk to us, you might very well find yourself guilty of giving away the taxpayers' money. Professor Clive Thomas, in his Starbuck newspaper, edition of 30th of March 2014, tables the annual losses of Gaisuco 2000 to 2009. He called it mired in a sea of losses and bailouts. The finance minister himself, in his 2011 budget speech at page 20, said to say that 2010 was a disappointing year for sugar, the sugar sector, would be an understatement of considerable proportions. Nothing has changed since then. The labor force still keeps leaving in the sugar estates. Production still keeps falling. I will not call out the falling annual production figures at this point. I did that last year. Yet, Skeldon Estate, comrade, the color is getting whiter. And the government now wants to donate $6 billion. This is like throwing good money after bad. This we cannot accept under these conditions. Sir, APNU offered solutions the year before the last and last year for this industry. Our problem, comrades, is that when these solutions are offered, you seem to think that we just stand up and talk. Our side has offered in the past. Okay? Let me repeat some of them. Okay, get out your pen, get out your pen. Appoint a competent board of directors. That is one of the things we offered last year. Once you have that, right now your directors are at sea. They will be able to craft new policies, depoliticize the entity, and diversify the production that you have. Instead of attacking us, we want to close down Gaisuco. Instead of slandering our names that we want to close down, this is false. It is not so. We are committed to the survival of sugar as any PPP government. Don't you ever forget, our ancestors were the bedrock of sugar in this country. Mr. Speaker, nowhere in any previous budget have I found any gift of taxpayers' money donated to any industry that is making a profit, as I said before. But amazingly, rice, the flagship of success, with a guaranteed market, not only in Venezuela, but in West Indies and Latin America on the horizon, has been awarded $500 million. Are we that rich to give handouts to places like GPL and now to rice, while we refuse to give living wages? Sir, the 2012 World Bank report stated that rated Guyana the third poorest in the Western Hemisphere and the poorest in South America. If we have that poverty, what was our friend speaking about our progress and the money that we're making when these people have us pegged at the poorest in South America? I don't understand the World Bank 2012 report. Yes, so this is a bit confusing to me. All I'm saying is I'm confused. We would like to see employment go up, Mr. Ali. Mr. Ali was just telling us, regaling us with the numbers that we would have created. 600 jobs here, 200 jobs there, 300 jobs somewhere else. So he gives the illusion to you that that employment is being created, that people are being given jobs. But why then did the American government tell us that 49% youths are unemployed in this country? I would not even want to use those figures. I don't think as a Guyanese I ought to use the American
Remember, your time
government's.
is up. You will have 5 minutes to conclude your presentation. Go ahead.
I do not wish to use those figures. If the government give us the unemployment figures for this country, then we will be able to do two things: refute whatever America says, and two, we can only then can we really measure whether jobs are being created or not. The GPL tells us that in this budget, that fuel prices remain high, and they have not increased tariffs for a long time. This scenario is painted to justify their allocation of $3.7 billion in 2013. In 2013. For this year, that year they got $11 million. In the year before they got $6 billion. They are still to tell us in what way we have benefited from those bailouts that they received in the past before they can go further. Yes, they have not told us. What they have not told us is that the 2013 IDB report pegged Guyana as having the highest cost of electricity in the Caribbean. And yet they continue to deliver. And yet they continue. And yet they continue.
But to complete.
And yet they continue to deliver.
The minimum interruption.
Yet they continue to. Yet they continue to deliver unreliable service to consumers. We cannot support any request for bailouts for this entity. In the past, our solutions to GPL were rejected. No new directors, no new professional managers, no non-political people in place to reduce line, nothing to do to reduce line losses. Let us reintegrate the businessmen and bring down the rates of electricity at the highest level, and then you can know whether we can have any money to give to them. Sir, the cleanup campaign at Georgetown have left us dumbfounded. When we hear the minister admits that a serious sanitation problem abounds in the capital and other places, the blame for this disgrace must be placed at the foot of the ruling party. From 1994 to now, there has been a deliberate policy of willful neglect of the capital and the rundown states of NDCs and city councils add to the woes of villages. What happened to the cleanup motion that was passed in this house? Why was nothing ever done? Why were all attempts by the city council to raise funds and to effectively manage the city stymied? Why are the outfalls not dredged to prevent flooding? Now $1 billion to clean the country and $500 million to Georgetown. Who will manage this money? For too long, citizens have suffered. We demand that the president assent to the local government bill. We are ready for local government elections, ready to recruit a qualified town clerk, ready to end micromanagement of the city and other local authorities. Election of people's representatives will deliver a clean city, a flood-free city, and usher in the role of local democracy. It will succeed where $1 billion will fail. Mr. Speaker, the tourism sector is yet to take off, even after spending money each year. Various various schemes have been floated. One year we've spent a lot of money talking about having Essequibo as a harbor for winter for yachts. I haven't seen any yet. We talk about board watching. Are there yachts which come in winter here, as was the scheme that you outlined? No. You talk about board watching. How many people have arrived in this country to watch boards? Those boards are a different kind of boards. Now, nothing has been done.
Honourable member, you will have to start wrapping up now. Please wrap up.
Well, okay, sir. I wish to warn people about the proposal that you intend to have a hospitality institute. I advise you to visit the Bahamas, Jamaica, and those other places that have tourism. And tell me whether, after you have seen what is the product of those institutes, whether you want your son and daughter to follow in the footsteps that you will see. I have seen it, and I will not comment on what you will find. But if you want it, go and see. And then come back and see whether you want. Why not think in terms of development? If you want tourism, find ways of encouraging Guyanese. I'm doing it now. Find ways of encouraging Guyanese.
Mr. Scott, don't be baited. You don't have the time to go and follow every little thing that is dangled in front of you. Please,
okay,
my
sir.
suggestion is stick to your script and wrap up your speech and make the points you intended to make.
This budget fails to address the cry of a living wage for workers. It fails to bring pensioners the basic cash that we had asked for $15,000. We are still to get to that stage. And inflation is taking it even higher. By the time next year, you'll need $20,000 a month. And we demand that our attention to the old, the aged, and other places get given some attention. For as long as the poor continues to be marginalized, no amount of money spent on projects will deliver a prosperous and contented people. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Honourable members.